edition of our live immigration Q&A series. It's been really, really neat to be able to jump on and to connect with all of you live on YouTube, Facebook, both the private and our Facebook page for the Canadian Immigration Institute, as well as Periscope. And it's, you know, knowing that when I'm doing these, obviously you guys know it takes a little bit of time to put this together. And and so the most important thing for me is that I have an opportunity to connect with as many people as is actually possible, so that I can really stretch this out. So let's see where we've got, oh, this is phenomenal. Look at this. We've got, let's pull these right on here. So I got two pulling up there. Anu is here. Okay, here we go. I know how I'm going to do this. There we go. Okay, so we've got Jit. Make sure you let me know as I'm giving shouts out to people who are watching where you're tuning in from. Okay, we've got our Periscope representation, Ram. It's awesome to have you. Thank you for connecting in. We've got Crudy. Welcome, Crudy, on Facebook. And yes, now we've got YouTube, which is awesome. Now this one is interesting. This one doesn't have anything, so I don't even know how this person is connecting, but that's great. We've got Laxman from Dubai. So in the comments, we'll zip through these in the initial phases of our live Q&A here. I love to take the time to give a shout out to those people that are tuning in and watching this. Now, normally I would love to give advance notice, but for those of you who are watching this for the first time, I'm trying to do this every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, with the program that I use that pushes things out to Facebook and to YouTube here, and like I said right here, Ram, to Periscope. I can't schedule it so that you guys know that it's coming. So understand as we work through this, and you can see even with my green screen, I am no expert. So there's always, it seems like there's a little bit of issue that's kicking in when I'm trying to get this perfect. But I've just subscribed to a new course with this awesome guy by the name of Adrian Salisbury. And I'm going to be getting some new video equipment, and these are just going to look a whole lot better than they are right now. Now, it's not the end of the world. You guys can see, we're able to communicate. I'm able to share my screen with you. But the reality is sometimes you just want things to just be a little bit better. And so that's what I'm trying to go for, is a little bit better presentation. So post where you're tuning in from below. I want to give a big shout out. We do this to give time for everybody to connect in. And so that's why we do this social proofing. One, to know that yes, this is live. It's not a recording of Mark that's just being rebroadcast. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. So what is the purpose behind this? Well, it's to try to demystify a lot of the crazy areas of immigration. And in particular today, actually, I had a little bit of a chuckle about one of the comments from Tuesdays, you know, when I indicated that there was great news for Canadian foreign workers, well, for foreign workers in Canada, and someone's like, oh, fake news, fake news. Obviously, there wasn't fake news. This is a wonderful development for people who are looking to switch employers really quickly. So that's the notice that came out with an expedited process for applying for work permits to change employers in Canada if you're currently laid off and you have a job offer from someone else. So that was awesome. Today, we're going to take a quick little look at the crystal ball of express entry. There's so much misinformation out there. And at the beginning, once we finish doing our shout outs, I'm going to take some time to explain to all of you just my perspective on express entry, where it's going, some things to be concerned about, and some other things to give you hope. All right. So, and we know that just yesterday we had another draw, a PNP draw. We'll talk about that. PNP only draw. And we're still waiting on the federal skilled trade draws. We're wondering if there's going to be any more CEC draws now that the language tests have started to flow in. And the loaded question, which everybody is wondering about, and that's, are they going to do another federal skilled worker draw? So I'm going to look into the crystal ball of express entry and see what we can find. All right. Okay, let's see where everybody's tuning in from. Oh, I love this part. This is some of my favorite things to do. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is awesome. Big shout out to Hussein, because I am thinking that Hussein there is trying to tag one of his friends to let them know we're live. Go ahead and do it, you guys. Let people know. We're going to be going here for the next hour, and I don't have a lot of questions that have been sent in. So a lot of this today is going to be a little bit of a crystal ball discussion about Express Entry. Then we're going to shift right over, and we're going to start answering your questions about immigration. And really, anything is fair game. We're not just restricting it to Express Entry. Travel restrictions, in Canada processing, crystal ball kind of divination, which may or may not actually be worth a lot, because who knows what the future is going to hold, but we'll have some fun with it. All right, let's see where everybody is connected in. Crudy says, Crudy here. Where are you from, Crudy? Samaya says, hi, Mark. Hi, Samaya. Good to have you joining us. Let's see who else we have here. Oh, excellent. We've got Diana from Sarnia. God bless you too, Diana. All right, Agnes says hello. We've got Tawanda from Zimbabwe. Wonderful, wonderful. We love the African contingent. Karen says, give us good news, Mark. All right, well, we'll find out, won't we? I'm going to keep you in suspense. Okay, we've got Sanjay, who's connecting from Dubai. Welcome, Sanjay. We've got Shopping TV, once again, back from Uzbekistan. I love that. I'm going to have to check out your Facebook channel to see if you're actually, if you're doing shopping. I'm looking at my little screen here, and I've got a little bit. Oh, actually, that almost works better there. I've got a little bit of, you guys can see kind of in the corner over here, a little bit of a shimmer. And I got some shimmering on my hair, but hey, green screen isn't perfect today, but it'll do. It's good enough. Okay, let's see where else people are tuning in from. We've got Rahul, who's Panipat, India. Welcome. We've got Rosh in Sri Lanka. Anas is from India. We've got Jazz Gill in T.O., Ontario, Toronto. Welcome. Vivek is Tanzania. Wonderful. Sandy's Punjab. Excellent. We've got Lester from the Bahamas. Wow, we've got people from all over. Wow, Samaya is Morocco. Welcome back, Samaya. You're a frequent listener. And of course, Bella, good as gold. You guys have got to go check out Bella's story on the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel. Go search for Bella and listen to her story. And also, I want to let you guys know, let's see if we can shift over here. I can't remember what I'm displaying here when I flip this screen around. Let's see what's showing. Okay, we got the comments there. I'm going to switch this over, and I'm going to make this Chrome. Okay, that's not Chrome. Here's Chrome. Let's see if we can get this going. There's the one I was looking for. I'm actually going to go over here, and I'm going to pull up this, which I haven't done yet. Is it this one? This is me searching through all of the various channels that I have. This one, the Canadian Settlement Hub. You guys have got to go check this out. And when it comes to the YouTube channel, let's see if I can pull this one up. I can't remember if I'm logged in or not. Cross fingers, cross fingers. Yes, I am. Hey, and there I am. I'm live. If you go to the channel, which you guys are on, you'll know that I did a free webinar on Canadian settlement. And you have to check it out because Bella here gave me a wonderful little video that pretty much summarized in about 40 seconds the challenges that people face when they are actually settling in Canada. That Canadian settlement webinar that I did was completely free, and it's not designed for me to line my pockets with anything. The whole purpose of that Canadian settlement webinar was to make sure that you guys knew what was out there and available for you. And it also points to this, which is our Canadian Settlement Hub. This is our new private Facebook group designed for people who are looking for information on how to successfully settle, how to avoid the pitfalls, how to know where to look for certain resources they might be accessible to. All of that's available. And if I go here, let's see, 2 people want to join. It's pretty simple to join, guys, pretty simple. The first thing is you answer the questions. So we've got Robert here. He answers the questions. Excellent. We approve it. Okay. Next one here, Don, he says, are you already in Canada? No. Have you CRPR? No. Do you agree to respond? This is a perfect example here. Do you agree to the group rules from the admin? No response. Decline. Pretty simple. That's how it works. Answer the questions and you can be a part of this. And I will be jumping on here with some impromptu live Q&As right in this group just to help facilitate discussion and get people talking, because that is where a lot of the information and answers come from. It's when people are going out of their way to help one another, to share the insights that they've learned. And there are so many different places that people can go in order to, to find information, that it's not always hard. Well, it's not always easy to know who you can trust and who you can't. All right. Okay, let's jump back here and see where other people are tuning in from here. Okay, so I give a big shout out to Bella, and we've got Anas here says hello, Mark. That's great. We've got Abhishek here. Awesome. Abhishek is tuning in from Ontario. Marlon is over in BC. Ralph, as always, Ralph, welcome, my good friend. Good to see you. Ralph's up in Edmonton. Rodriguez says, hey, Mark, thanks for doing this. You're very, very welcome, my friend. All right, what else we got? We got Anu from Pakistan. We've got Emeka back once again from Nigeria. All right, Emeka, great to have you. Yaya, Egypt. I've told you how much I want to go there, that's for sure. Maximus is in Lagos, Nigeria. We've got double Nigerian connection here. Then we've got Ishan from Texas. Thanks for joining, Ishan. Ahmed, Abu Dhabi. Excellent. We've got Jeet here. Is from India, and it looks like he's maybe in Germany in 2019, and now Jeet wants to go to Canada. All right, Agnes, Zambia, wonderful. Hussein's Pakistan. Let's see here who we've got. Cindy is in Montreal, welcome. Got another unknown person from India. Ram, look at this, we got a double Periscope connection. Ram says Mark's the best, and Amin says yes, Mark is the real thing. That's awesome. Thanks, guys. Who said Periscope wasn't worth broadcasting to, right? Okay, and then we've got Mantak in New York. I hope you're staying safe, my friend. Hope you're staying safe. Keep our fingers crossed, right? That draw. Keep our fingers crossed. Okay, let's see who else we have here. Marianne, the Philippines. Welcome, Marianne. Great to have you joining us. Raul is tuning in from Panipat, India. Great. Let's see who else we've got here. Agnes, yep, we've got you from Zambia, Agnes. Eamon says, this is amazing. Well, I don't know how amazing it is. Maybe it's amazing that an immigration lawyer has managed to actually do his own video, post it, even though his hair is like golden up here. Wow, that's another topic while I'm giving shout outs to people. Alberta is finally starting to lift some of the restrictions. We're kind of in phase 1, and guess what's opening with phase 1? Well, if you were Portuguese, it would be the cabeleireiro, which, although I never pronounce cabeleireiro very well, it's the hair cutting places, it's the barbers, it's the hairdressers, it's the salons. And my goodness, do I ever need, I've got some pretty good lift there with this crazy hair. You know, I've got the wings floating out here on the sides. Now you guys can see if you look here, look at that. You guys see that? I usually keep it pretty well hidden. It's gray hair. Yes, Mark has gray hair. All right, let's see where everybody else is tuning in. So Diana, we got you in Nigeria. That's great. Let's see who else here. We'll try to get to people that have not yet given a shout out. Okay, Grajesh is over in Toronto. Great to have you joining us, Grajesh. Adam is Uzbekistan. Awesome. Very cool. Let's see. We'll just skim through here. We've got our Trinidad in the house. Excellent. Good to have you here. All we need is your name, Trinidad. Okay. And yep, Marianne. Oh, I got to give you a second shout out, Marianne, because you got that awesome flag there. Very cool. Victor is here from Calgary, a new subscriber. Welcome, Victor, on YouTube. And remember, those of you who are watching this live on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and you can get notifications when I go live. Same thing for you Facebook people. Make sure that you authorize it to give you notifications when we go live, and then you'll be able to see these. Okay, all right, let's go through here. Hold off on your questions. We got another Albertan, Dinesh. Great to have you. Let's see here. We've got Sharma over in TO, Toronto. Welcome, Sharma. We've got Rajiv down in Washington, D.C. Very cool. We got someone from Lebanon. Welcome. All right, let's see how we're doing here. Samir, bem-vindo, amigo meu. So Samir is from Brazil. Awesome. And Varun is India. Jason. You do helpfulness so right. Practical, reliable guidance with no strings attached. Hey, what do you mean, Jason? I want every single one of you guys to actually go and book a consult and hire me to help you with your immigration application. I actually do want people to do that when they feel they need assistance. That's one of the reasons I do it. But most importantly, just to reiterate what Jason is highlighting here, is that for years and years, I would book consults with people who would request to come and meet with me. And often by the time they chose to book that consultation, either they'd relied on some helpful friends, some consultants that didn't know what they were doing, some dabbling lawyers, or whoever it was, family, to guide them to the point where they basically had run out of options and they didn't know what else to do. Their applications had either been returned or denied. They'd fallen out of status. Then they'd come to the immigration lawyer for help. Well, about 5 years ago, kind of right before Express Entry started to kick in, I could resolve everything. There was always a way. There was always someone within immigration I could reach out to. There was discretion with the officers, and there was an ability to fix things. But that ability ended. And so when 2015 hit, and actually just a little bit before 2015, I was on a working group as we were looking at the government and how they were releasing Express Entry and what it was proposed to look like. And we were providing feedback to them, seeking clarification, pointing out problems, challenges. And so we had a little bit of an insight and input into the actual creation of Express Entry. And at that stage, I knew that people were going to be in rough shape. And at that time, we had a ton of Filipinos. And so those who here that are Filipino that are tuning in, big shout out to you guys, because you really at that time, back in 2015, well, it's been like 5 years ago now, the decisions that the government was making were seriously harming people. And they had to make decisions quickly. So I wrote a blog that basically crashed my website on the top things you needed to do to prepare and for Express Entry before it was even released. And going forward, a lot of those people ran into situations where they were just out of luck. If they'd made decisions earlier, and if they'd come to me a year earlier, all of their problems could have been washed away. And because they kept coming to me for consults and I wasn't able to help them, I'd send them away basically, saying, sorry, there's nothing that I can do. If you'd come to me a year before, I realized that this just, I couldn't charge them. I felt bad charging them, saying that there was nothing I could do. And it was affecting my practice. So I started blogging. I started doing a Canadian Immigration podcast, which you guys have to check that thing out. The Canadian Immigration podcast is on iTunes. It's on Stitcher. It's on a whole bunch of other places we've pushed it out to now. And I've got a bunch of new episodes that are being released. Check out the one I just did with Will Tao on study permits. Will is awesome. He's a fantastic kid. He's just one of the up and comers when it comes to immigration law. You'll have to go back and watch his episode. Maybe, Igor, you can post a comment or give it a little push out on our social media channels. That's a big shout out to Igor, who's my right arm man. He's recently immigrated himself to Canada and has recently joined Holthe Immigration Law. So all those resources are out there. You'll need to go check them out. Okay. All right. Enough of this. Let's dive back to a few more shout outs to people. And then we're going to talk about this crystal ball. Okay. We're going to get right to it talking about Express Entry. Okay. So let's see what we've got here. And if you have questions, hold off on them. Okay. Okay, Manali from India, she says, I love your YouTube videos. Great, that's why I create them. All right, let's see. Hey, we got a shout out for the webinar. Akash says, hi, Mark, webinar was awesome and really helpful. God bless you. Good. Listen to Akash. I made that for free. Go watch it. It was like 2 hours we put into making it. And there was a guest spot from Igor who joined me. So you can get to know Igor a little bit more. Okay, let's see what else we got here as we're zipping through. I think we've just about hit the end of people who are saying where they're from. Eaton is Florida. And let's see, Sasha is in Jamaica. Hey, we've got North Legazpi from St. John, New Brunswick. Awesome, very cool. Very cool. Jatinder's in Montreal. Welcome. All right, and then we've got a bunch of people that are posting questions, so hold off because I'm not going to look at those yet. Once I give the word and say, now post your questions, that's when I want you to post them. So right now, I just want to know where you're tuning in from. Sunny, okay. Sunny wants to know about investor programs in Manitoba. Hold off on that one. We've got a bunch of people from Edmonton. We've got a bunch of unknowns. We're giving them a shout out. And Mikal is Australia, Sydney, originally from Slovakia. Very cool. My brother's over in the Gold Coast over in Australia. He's an Australian citizen. He decided to go the other way. He's a practicing dentist near Brisbane, Australia. So, hey, people go all over the place. Okay, very, very cool. Let's see. Gnani is in Virginia, maybe. Virginia, I think probably USA. Very cool. We got another Bangladesh resident, Shakira. And then we got Akshdeep, Akashdeep from India. I'm not doing too bad pronouncing these, although it's a little bit interesting. Okay, let's see here. Who else? We got Manpreet, New Delhi. And I think we've reached the end. There's a ton. There really is. Rajiv's DC. Gagandeep is Guelph. We've got Babar, Pakistan. Wow. Okay, so hold off on your questions like I said here, okay? And then we will switch over and we will start to respond to them. Big shout out to Ernest over in Italy. I hope you're staying safe and well. Ernest, we know how hard Italy was hit with the coronavirus, and our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers go out to you, your family, friends, all of the amazing, healthcare workers who have done all they can to try to stem, the horrible growth of COVID-19 in Italy. And I also want to give a big shout out and heartfelt thoughts and prayers to the family of the first healthcare worker in Canada that passed away. Then there was a news report just yesterday. It's crazy. That's my problem. I'm too emotional. An RN out in Ontario, I believe, that passed away because of COVID-19, working in with our most vulnerable elderly in our extended care facilities. So big, thoughts and prayers. Big shout out to all of the family and friends. And really all of the healthcare workers across Canada who are really putting themselves on the front lines right in the line of fire with the virus, keeping our most vulnerable segment of our population, our elderly, safe, and even those in the hospitals. So we've been doing really good with curbing the, flattening the curve, which big shout out as well to all the Canadians who've been doing this, but most importantly to all of you healthcare professionals out there, doctors, nurses, personal care attendants, licensed practical nurses, anyone who works in those areas. All right, we've got Ray from Surrey, and Marianne says, "Oh, I love Igor also." That's great. You better be careful though. Igor's a taken man. He's got an awesome wife, Tatiana. That's awesome. Okay. All right, guys, we're going to stop right there. We've done a ton of shout outs. Thanks for letting me know where you're tuning in from. Okay, let's take a look at my screen right here. We're going to flip over, and I think I can probably make myself just a little bit bigger here and push me down, and there, that's good. Little overlap. Okay, let's take a look at this. What we're talking about here, and I'll pull that off. We are talking about right now these rounds of invitations right over there. So many of you will know at this stage, there was a draw just yesterday, and we're in this position now where we're trying to understand what the future holds with this, okay? And so if we go through here and we look at the screen, we take a look at the rounds of invitations, you'll see May 13th right here, there was a provincial nominee class draw. So just PNPs. And if you look at it, it's somewhat revealing. So there were 529 invitations issued. And you can see here, the lowest ranked candidate had a score of 718. Well, how many points do you get for a PNP nomination through one of the express entry classes? You get 600 points. So that means that a person that had 118 human capital points, so, under the comprehensive ranking system, just for their human capital, in other words, their language, education, work experience, age, they only had 118 and they were still drawn. And what does that mean? Well, to a large extent, when they're doing PNP only draws, it means that they are placing significant emphasis right now on foreign nationals that are in Canada. Maybe they're as foreign workers in most cases. International students that are coming through, yes, as well. But those who have a connection to Canada and they have an employer. In the case of PNPs, in many cases, that employer is supporting their application. Not always, but in many cases it is. And so, or they're in an occupation that's of critical skill shortage in a province. And if we go back, so we can see on, and basically this is another thing that's really important to note as well. So May 13th is here. Well, the tiebreaker rule was March 19th. So if you submitted an application at any point in time before March 19th, 2020, then at 12:53, and look, universal time, that's what the government uses, then you are going to be one of those lucky 529, okay? And it's hard for me not to believe that they swept all of these right out of the pool. In other words, anyone that had a provincial nominee right here, anyone that had a profile in the pool with a nomination probably received this invitation to apply. And that's why it's kind of a little bit of a wonky number, okay? And you can see here, it's just identifying to everybody that candidates from the provincial nominee class were eligible for this round. So there was no Canadian Experience class people. There was no federal skilled worker or federal skilled trade. So now we can see this most recent draw. The question becomes, right, what does the future hold? As I hold up my crystal ball right here in my hand, and I look deeply into the crystal ball that we call Express Entry, to some extent, it's not even really a crystal ball where I can open it up and, and say, look inside and say, this is exactly where it's going to go. Think of it more like, a magic 8-ball. Have you guys seen those things where there are potentially a whole bunch of different answers, but there's only that set number? Maybe there's 20 different answers. And when you take this magic 8-ball, maybe give me a thumbs up if you guys have, if you've ever played with a magic 8-ball, and you shake it up and you look inside and you see, as you wait for it to settle, an answer appears at the top. And in this case, you ask your question and shake it up. And so when I'm looking at Express Entry, the first thing that I'm asking myself is, are people actually going to see federal skilled trade program applications, or I should say draws, coming soon? Well, I think personally, it all comes down to the number of people that are in the pool that actually fit within that category. So I want to show you how this works. So you can see as of May 12th, okay, so this is just before, and it's actually really recent. Often it takes more for them to figure out the distribution. But this is as of May 12th, and this draw happened May 13th. So as of the day before, this is what it was immediately before the draw happened. There were 482 people that were candidates in with a CRS score of 601 to 1200, okay? So there was 482, it says right there. Now we know as we're going forward, if we look at this with the PNP only, provincial nominee only, you can see right here that it said the lowest ranked person was 718. So this is where it can be a little bit confusing. It's possible that there could have been a bunch of people that put their applications in, but generally speaking, all of these people were, at least that are related to the provincial nominee class, were pulled. And the reason that I wanted to show you this is, if you're trying to calculate specifically based on these numbers and try to extrapolate based on this, you're going to find yourself very disappointed, because these numbers, although they try to be accurate, are not 100% clear representation of what's happening when the actual draw happens. Otherwise, if 529 invitations were issued based on these numbers right here, well, obviously, the only people that are going to have more than 600 here are people that have a provincial nomination. I'm trying to think. There are bonus points. There are. But it's pretty hard to reach up to 600 unless you have a PNP nomination. You can have people that are in the 500s that are really high. But when it comes to this kind of a draw, the PNP, so 600 and up, more than likely these are all PNPs. So 482 points. And if you go up here and you look, there were number of invitations issued 529. So how does that match up, right? It doesn't. So either there was a bunch of people in that last day, there was another almost 75, which I guess is possible. I shouldn't say 75. Really, we're looking at 18 and 29. Maybe there's another 40 people that put their names in right before the draw to get it in. And that's possible. And that may be why the numbers are the way they are. But when it comes to this, we have a ton of people that are sitting right in this range. And it's building up and building up. So if I'm to look at my crystal ball, one thing that I do know, based on what I've heard the immigration minister, Minister Mendicino, talk about, is that they are definitely going to be looking at people in Canada and giving them a priority. How long it will be until the federal skilled worker program, there's a draw? Well, they're not going to cut it off forever. I do know that. We will see more of those draws. But we have to see how the dust settles with this COVID-19. It's entirely possible that we won't see another federal skilled program, the federal skilled worker program draw, an open one for probably, well, I don't know, probably a few months. I wouldn't surprise me, at least until the travel restrictions are softened. And then you have one added benefit right now is that the language tests are finally starting to be able to be booked. And we're getting people that are able to be sitting those exams. And that was preventing new people really from coming into the pool at all. So that's one of the reasons why on the Canadian Experience side, if we look at the previous rounds, that's why on the Canadian Experience class, if we go back to April the 16th, that's why this one dipped down all the way to 455. It's because there was no new candidates coming in because of the difficulty of getting language tests. But now that's opening. So that should, I think, I'm not sure if we're going to drop down to 455. That may have been the low point in this whole coronavirus situation. Now, it's possible. I'm not saying that it's not impossible to have it go down this low again, but there's going to be new people piling in, and it may very well be that that's the lowest we're going to get for CECs. And then after that, with no federal skilled worker draws, we know for a fact that it's going to be high. And if we scroll down to the last time that we had an FSWP draw, Canadian Experiences, PNP, no specific program, March the 4th, you can see it was at 471. And you can imagine how many people in how many months are now in the pool that have over 471. And so I suspect it's probably going to be in the high 470s, I wouldn't doubt. But we'll just have to see. So that's kind of the prognosis. That's kind of looking into the, into the crystal ball and really the magic 8 ball, shaking it to see where things are at. All right. Okay. So now those of you who have tuned in, and I'm just seeing how many people are live here. Those of you who have been patient, have tuned in, now you guys are going to be, actually, Joe, I better answer one more thing too. You guys are going to be rewarded. So right now, while I finish up, I have Rami here who has a question for me. And Rami Selmi, this one right here is where we're going to start off our questions, okay? But before so anyone who posts after Rami, I will review those ones. Okay, so what I want to tell you right now is that the minister did hint, and in our parliament, there were lots of questions from the opposition on whether or not Canada was going to continue with the levels planning that they had before, which was essentially 1% of our population. So they were looking at over 300,000 individuals, over 300,000 each year. But we know that the minister has taken a few steps back and has indicated that they're going to look at the numbers. And I think that's a prudent thing to do. When we have anywhere from 13 to 18 or 19% unemployment, at least we have had, there's going to be businesses that are shut down. There's going to be others that are not going to be bringing everyone back when they do open up again. And so the government has to be cautious with that. And our conservative government is holding the liberal government, they're making sure that they're accountable for that. But one thing we do know is that Minister Mendicino and our immigration department are very pro-immigration. So if the numbers are sustainable, if the opportunities are there, individuals will continue to be able to immigrate to Canada. But immigration is a long-term planning thing, right? You may get your confirmation of permanent residence and decide not to travel until your visa and your passport is just about ready to expire. And even now, there's a lot of people that are going to have extensions to their permanent resident visas in their passport because they haven't been able to travel. So it's a little bit uncertain right now exactly whether or not they're going to honor and maintain those future levels plans. But it's my belief that it's going to be pretty close. Now, those who are in Canada are definitely going to get more special treatment, and they're going to give them greater priority than those outside of Canada. But if I was to just, shake that ball up again and say, what professions, what occupations, crystal ball or magic 8 ball, which one of these are going to be sought after in Canada, I think you can all see it. If you have experience in healthcare, both from a work permit standpoint, coming temporarily, or from permanent residence, it wouldn't surprise me for Express Entry to even consider a carve-out to some extent for people who have healthcare experience, and to maybe even give points, extra points, for people that have experience in the healthcare field. Now, that's just me talking. There's no basis upon that other than confirming that it is an area that's important for every province in this country. And so maybe even PNPs may ramp up or open up or target people that have that experience. So if your points are low, if your CRS points are low, and you know that you're below 400 and you don't think you're going to have a shot at this, but you do have experience as a registered nurse, as a doctor, as a licensed practical nurse, or in personal care attending, remember that some provinces do pull you out of the pool based on your work experience. So make sure you get your actual profile submitted, and then you just don't know what's going to happen. All right. Okay. Whew, that was great. Awesome. Okay, there's the crystal ball. Just like I told you, no fake news. All right, moving forward. So Rami says, hi, I have a question. If my supervisor doesn't give me a reference letter, can I get it from a coworker? Okay, good question, Rami. Whenever employers, and there are jerks out there are employers that just don't want to give reference letters. And in those circumstances, if they refuse to do it, then you have to use whatever's the next best thing. And if I look at it this way, I will often say, okay, if the HR won't give it to you, or the company won't, do you have someone who supervises you that will? If they don't, do you have a coworker? And it's kind of like a hierarchy. Do you have a coworker that would be willing to do that, swear an affidavit, confirm they work, in the company with you, prove that they work there, and that they're actually in a position to say what your duties are? And really, that's what it comes down to. Then if they don't exist, then do you have a supervisor that worked with you that can attest to you that maybe doesn't work for the company anymore, but they may have gone on to work for someone else, but they can still swear that affidavit for you? Then consider them. Then the next step in my mind is a coworker that also doesn't work with the company anymore, but maybe they could give you an affidavit. But one thing we do know is that a mere attestation by yourself just is not going to cut it. Immigration will not give it much weight at all. Okay. We've got Furkan from the UAE. Welcome. Okay, this one is Junk, and he says, and Dianita, can I lose my 50 points from job offer while in mat leave? I got an LMIA to back up my PR process and my work permit is open. I have a year with the same employer. We'll be back to work in May 2021. Okay, so the starting point here when it comes to the 50 points for a job offer, what I don't see here is whether or not you've indicated that your work permit is open. So do you actually even have a job offer? That's the question I have. Because for immigration purposes with the comprehensive ranking system, job offers are only work permits with a named employer on them. So they're based on a labor market impact assessment or through one of the work permit categories under the International Mobility Program, but they must be an employer-specific work permit. So, Jean, I wonder if you actually have 50 points. Okay. All right, Alina, I can't just say, you'd like to ask about the Atlantic immigration pilot. Okay, and that's fine. Because I always want to try to be as helpful as possible, I'm going to flip back to my screen here for you, Alina, and I'm going to type in Canadian Immigration Podcast, and this time I'm going to type in Atlantic Immigration Pilot, and let's see what comes up right here. This episode I actually named the best the Atlantic Immigration Pilot, the best program in Canada. So I'd encourage you to go check it out. And this I had an interview with a great lawyer, Janet Thompson Price, who lives and works in New Brunswick. And she has provided her time, and this is a little bit older, but the principles still say the same, I'd encourage you to go check it out. It's an employer-driven process, Alina, so it's not something that you can initiate yourself. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm going to put this up, even though I'm going to shift over here. I'm going to put this up, Rodriguez, even though this is a massive question here. So, okay, we'll just accept it. So he says, thanks in advance. Do you think, would it be any problem with my ECA report if West, for some reason, didn't understand, translated in a different way? The name of my university, translated in a different way. The name of the university, they did it in English when it's a proper name in Spanish. The title of my specialization, commercial law, but they reported business law. No, I don't feel that's an issue at all. You're going to include your supporting documents and you're going to include the West report. If you want, you can actually write an LOE. The reality is when you have your documents, your transcripts, they're going to be translated, right? So they're going to see that translation if they weren't already in English. And if, as you've indicated here, it looks like they were Spanish. And so that's going to be readily visible when you're getting your degree translated anyways. But there's no harm in providing an LOE. Okay. I'm just going through here to pick out the ones that I can answer that are not super long. Okay, so this one here, Prakash, I'm going to put you up here. This is actually a little bit longer than I'm going to be able to answer. It's a little bit convoluted, and it's really a specific question that relates to you and not of general interest to everyone in the group. So those types of questions actually go via a consultation. So whoever is saying Mark is just doing this completely for free with no expectation of return, well, the reality is I'm answering these generally because they benefit everybody that's tuning in. But for those of you out there who are those of you out there who have specific questions, you really need to book a consult. Okay, Cecil says, I've got a score of 430 with CLB 10. Applied to the PNP and PEI with NOC 2281. Do I have a chance? Cecil, this is exactly another one that is destined for immigration consultation with Mark. So that's where I can't answer that without looking at a whole bunch of different things, my friend. Okay, we've got someone from Abu Dhabi. That's great. Okay, let's see what Moa says. Hi, Mark. God bless you. I'm in Alberta and I have a nomination from the province 6 months ago. And I applied for express entry and I submitted all my documents. Now I still have 20 days in my timeline. Oh yeah, you can expect that to go way longer. These are not being expedited. There's fewer officers. And so you can expect that timeline is useless. You can basically toss it out the window. It's going to be quite a while for your permanent resident application to be finalized. Okay. Okay. So we've got another person here who's asking really a specific question. I'd have to look at your whole situation there, unknown on Facebook, in order to be able to answer this. Full assessments and everything we do in those consultations. And if you guys are wondering, okay, Mark, you're talking about these consultations, how do we do them? All you have to do, guys, is just go to our firm website right here, click on the Start Here button, and that is where it will take you to go through to select the option that's available to you and book your consultation. Okay? All right. Moving forward here. Okay. Zanab says, can we change the NOC code after creating the profile if your employer troubles you with the reference letter? Okay, Zainab, absolutely. If you need to make any changes in your express entry profile, you can always do that before you get your invitation to apply. When that ITA comes, then it can be a different story, because then you have to deal with the Section 11.2 requirements under the Immigration Act, which require an officer to make sure that you have the evidence to support, one, the federal skilled worker selection criteria eligibility. So do you continue to meet that eligibility for the federal skilled worker program or the Canadian experience class or the federal skilled trade? Do you meet those eligibility requirements? And two, has your comprehensive ranking system score dropped below the level where you received your ITA? So those are things that are definitely factors that they look at after you receive an ITA when you're submitting your EAPR. But before it comes, you can make any changes that you want to. Okay, okay, here's a good one. Crudy says, it's a little bit bigger, but this is of general use. So I got my ECA from ICUS, whereby I already had a valid ECA from Wes. ICUS has given me that master's that Wes wouldn't give you. So I put the ECA details for ICUS in the profile rather than Wes. Do you think this will affect my profile? Since the Wes report was received earlier and it's still valid. I'm also going to turn 32 this May, so I'm really worried about my points. Okay, you do exactly as you said. Every educational credential assessment agency has been authorized by the government. I did hear at one point in time that an officer chose to refuse to accept the ICAS when Wes had done something, equated it to something lower. That is a reviewable error. That is something that you could take them to federal court to challenge that refusal. Because at the end of the day, it's like writing an IELTS test, right? Maybe you did horrible and then you rewrote it and did better. The officer doesn't have the discretion to say, okay, I'm going to take that old language score because I think that's a better representation of what your actual ability is. Or even if you wrote a new IELTS test and did worse and decide to rely on an older one, you can still do that as long as it's within the validity period. So no, I would challenge that. I would fight that tooth and nail. If there was a refusal, I would immediately file leave to judicially review that decision in federal court. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Actually, I just skipped over Diana here. Should I send an LOE if I'm claiming points in EE for foreign work experience that my agency didn't report properly when applying for the first time for a work visa? Diana, this isn't something that I can really answer. I'll be honest. It all depends upon what was actually submitted. And I can't dive into this issue unless I can actually see what was reported initially. At all times, you tell the truth. At all times, you disclose. Anything that is considered to be a material fact, a material part of the adjudication of your application, then you always need to disclose it. But what you do and how you do it depends on the specifics of each situation. In your case, I would definitely need to see what happened in order to properly advise you. Okay. Karen says, Mark, I think the M disappeared there. Emirates has restarted flight service to Toronto. Why would a commercial airline restart services if most people can't fly in? Maybe something in the works. Well, understand that there are people that can. And increasingly, people that have work permits are able to travel. There are a lot of people who received their confirmation of permanent residence before March 18th, which are able to travel. It's just that the airlines weren't flying. So it's not surprising. In other countries, I suspect their airlines will also start to fly to Canada. Okay, JD says your videos are really helpful. You're welcome. And Hussein says, I'm here also, Mark. That's great. Okay, let's see here. We'll try to get to... Okay, Arbaz is asking a question that I don't think any of us can fully answer. To a large extent, it depends upon the health regions. It depends upon the agreements that Canada has, with the provinces, and just trying to really, even with other countries like the US, for instance. So the US, we just saw a report that those travel restrictions have been extended up into June. I can't remember if June or if it pushed into July, but we know they're a reality. And so it's really, really difficult to know when exactly they're going to be lifted. And when, as you've indicated here, you can expect passport requests and the travel bans are lifted. So that's something we don't quite know right now, but I think we're in this for another couple months still, at least. Okay. Okay, this is a good one. Nithin's asking a good question. Do you honestly think IRCC are rational to go ahead with CEC only draw? We'd been trying for the last 4 years to magic IELTS score and finally now achieved, but IRCC only drawing CEC candidates. Nithin, if you want to approach that from a rational standpoint, if you have foreign workers who are out of work, who have Canadian work experience, maybe they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars getting a Canadian education, and they've been here for 5 years. Is it rational for Canada not to give those people who are already in Canada, already connected, the first shot at permanent residence versus someone who has no connection with Canada, especially when some industries are shut down, when companies are having to lay off Canadians as well as foreign workers, and where there are significant concerns still about the spread of COVID-19? Is it rational for them not to continue with CEC draws at this time? I would have to argue the counter. It probably makes sense why they're doing it. But when it comes to the federal skilled worker program, they will obviously open it up. They will. It's just a matter of time. And I'm so sorry. I can only understand. I can only imagine how hard it's been for you. 4 years trying to get the IELTS score, and how devastating it must be for you now, watching age increase, the chances of getting that ITA slipping away. So I have great compassion for you, Nathan. But from a rational standpoint, I think it's actually more rational that they continue with CEC draws, at least for the short term. But the long term, yes, I believe they will open up to federal skilled workers. Okay. All right. Let's see what we have here. Okay. Jitinder says, can we get PR through Express Entry while staying in Quebec as student with CIQ if CRS is more than cut off? Okay. Anytime you live in Quebec, this all relates to a provision within the regulations related to Express Entry that specifically state you must demonstrate an intention to reside outside of the province of Quebec, because Quebec has their own programs, although they're not as good as they used to be because of the new government and their view on immigration. But you have to understand that the biggest issue you have is not whether you're a student or otherwise, but whether or not you can prove to them that although you're in Quebec, that you can go to a different province. Now, there's been cases in the federal court that I reviewed, and I just traveled out to, I shouldn't say just, it was last October, I traveled to Quebec to teach immigration lawyers in Quebec within the Acadie organization, which is a phenomenal organization, wonderful lawyers, on how to use Express Entry for the purposes of their clients who don't have pathways forward in Quebec. So if you're a situation where let's say you are at McGill, you're taking an English language only program, you have a job offer from a company in Ottawa or Toronto, and you're just waiting for school to be completed and then you move, you don't speak any French, you've got family in another province, you have no other family in Quebec, well, I think you've got a pretty good case to make that you have an intention to reside outside of the province of Quebec. But other than that, it's really case by case. Okay. Dana says, how about the food service supervisors? They have freeze all applications for us. Do you think they will lower the CRS for us? Do you know what? Food service supervisors, I seriously doubt it. The reason is because there are so many people that are in those occupations who are postgrads. Often that's where you get your jobs, food service, just retail trade, all of those areas. So I'd be very surprised if they did anything in terms of food service. Although in terms of freezing applications, I'm not quite sure if they've actually frozen them. It's just they're not a priority. Okay. I'm going to keep going through here. All right, so this person says, will they approve visas for work permits from Canada in coming days? Does Service Canada issue LMIAs, or is it closed right now? Okay, 2 questions. First question is, yes, there is a significant halt on new work permits. I've got work permits pending at the consulates, and unless they are in an area that really is critical, not just essential, but critical to the fight against COVID, maintaining our food supply, direct health care, then those work permits are really, they're not moving forward unless a strong case can be made on a case-by-case basis. Then 2, LMIAs, yes, LMIAs are continuing to be issued, but you can imagine how difficult it is for an employer right now with all this unemployment to show that they can't find a Canadian or permanent resident to do the job. So all of those are factors. Okay, we'll skip through here. Okay, let's see what Akash says here. I have 2 major doubts. 1, I submitted my FSW document on April the 7th, waiting for biometrics. When can I expect biometric request letter? Not a clue, my friend. Obviously, in jurisdictions in the US, jurisdictions all over Canada, all over the world, the restrictions on businesses and groups and are slowly starting to be opened up. And so we're just waiting for the word when those biometric collection locations are going to the visa application centers, when they're going to start doing biometrics again. But at this stage, they do not seem to be doing it. Now, in some cases, if you can make the right case and you can pitch the embassy or the consulate where the application is being processed, you can make a request that biometrics be waived. But it has to be a very, once again, critical occupation where someone is coming to fill an essential, not just even essential, just think of it as more, just really important to the overall well-being of Canada, then in those cases, you may have an opportunity to make a pitch to have those biometrics waived. And right now, the border officers do not seem to be willing to do the biometrics at the port of entry. They just say, well, you'll have to complete the biometrics at a later date. So next question, is it worth coming to Canada post-COVID? I think, and I've described this before, I've talked about this at length. Understand, this may be your only chance at getting permanent residence in Canada. There may not be a lot of opportunities or jobs, but you could be 2 years older in 2 years when everything settles. You could have lost 10 points. The comprehensive ranking system may be up here instead of here. So those of you haters out there, and I'm not saying, Akash, that you're a hater at all, but those who say, why go to Canada? There's no jobs. Well, the reality is, it's not so much whether there's a job now, but whether you can come, get through the process, land, and if you have to do a soft landing, remember that you only have to demonstrate that you've lived in Canada for 2 years and every 5-year period. And when you do that, that means you have time to go land, return back home, wait for things to improve, and then move when the time is right. But if you choose not to do that, then remember, you could forever lose your opportunity, that narrow window of time that you have in order to get through because of the way the comprehensive ranking system works. Okay, I'm going to end right here with Sandy. And Sandy says, can there be any refusal due to salary level of different professions if they don't match the industry standards around the world or in home country? Okay, when it comes to salary, they can't refuse. The question is it paid work or not? So if the salary doesn't equate to what it would be industry standards in around the world or in Canada, if even within the home country, but what they do is they look at that to see if that's a wage that makes sense for the NOC you're trying to claim. Now, they can't use it as an outright bar, but they sure can question whether or not you're actually working in a senior level position. Let's take Canada, for instance. Let's say that I am the CEO of, I don't know, McDonald's Canada Corporation, okay? And I put in my letter, I'm trying to immigrate to Canada. I've got a foreign work, I'm working in Canada, but let's keep it with Canada because I know those figures. And let's say that you're being paid minimum wage. Let's say you're being paid little above minimum wage, $16 an hour to be the CEO of McDonald's Canada Corporation. Do you think an officer is going to wonder or just accept at face value that, yeah, you are the CEO? If you're not being paid commensurate with it, the first thing the officer is going to look at is that person actually working in that position? Or are their duties more attributed to a lower level position, which is more equal to that pay? That's how it works. All right. Okay, guys, 2 o'clock, time to shut down. I want to express sincere appreciation to all of you guys out there who joined in, who were patient. My apologies to those that I wasn't able to get to. As you can see, I've been trying to do this every Tuesday and Thursday, adding another day just because of the people that have been tuning in, wanting to get answers and not being able to get them. Remember, you always have the option of connecting with me. And if you have problems or challenges and you're not quite sure how to deal with a tricky issue, oh my goodness, you guys. Like, I spend most of my time, that's what the consults are about. That's why people hire an immigration lawyer, you know, when they have challenging situations. But I do not want you to forget, and I don't do a good enough job really of promoting this, but you have to remember, guys, I have right here in my do-it-yourself courses, the most awesome course called Express Entry, the complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself. And this is designed to help you. And I've gone through, and if you watch past videos, you click on Learn More here. It talks about all the different things that I do. And including in this, there are testimonials from, and I think I saw Emeka even on here. I think I might have Emeka here. Let's see. There he is. So Machi. So this is the testimonial that Machi has. And he's the last one of this initial little group that I had to ask people to, hey, would you give me a video testimonial? And so they did. There's way more than just these. But all these individuals, I believe, are all permanent residents of Canada right now. And I'm trying to remember, some of them may have booked consultations with me, but for the large for the most part, these individuals are now all permanent residents because they chose to purchase this guide. Now, the regular price that I have is $497 US. This is chock full, step by step of the whole express entry process. Profile, ITA, EAPR, all the documents, and a ton of videos in my resource section. So not like these where you have to pick and choose and watch an hour-long video in order to find the information you're looking for. It's all categorized in there. And if you go in there right now and you click on Purchase Guide and you type in right here, EE DIY 50, and you click Apply, I am going to give you 50% off. So take advantage of it. For $248.50 US, it's going to be light years ahead of one, you trying to do it yourself or trying to hire some lightweight consultant or dabbling lawyer who don't even specialize in immigration, or for the lawyer, or when it comes to the consultants who really don't know anything more than you do. So take advantage of it. Do it now. I can guarantee that it will be worth it. And as with all of my courses, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you purchase it and you say, you know what, Mark, this wasn't very helpful, I'll return your money instantly. All right? Okay. And remember, there is the Canadian Settlement Hub. Go to Facebook, request to join. We would love to have you be a part of this amazing group as people are trying to figure out what they need to do in order to be able to successfully settle in Canada. And since the video started, I can see there's another person who's tuned in, and you can see here, do you agree to the group rules? No response, decline. So all you have to do is answer the questions. It's as simple as that. And why do I do that? Because it's a private group. All right. And it's growing. I'm not sure. We've got 139 members right now. It's just starting. And don't forget, we also have this right here, which is my Canadian settlement webinar. You have to 100% go watch that. It'll totally open your eyes to what you need to do to make sure your settlement process is successful. And finally, actually, I think if I can go, I probably don't have it anymore. Remember the Canadian Immigration Podcast. Remember our Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page, and Twitter and Instagram for Holthe Immigration Law, which is the firm that provides all of the Canadian immigration representation that is delivered through myself, through the wonderful lawyer and support staff that I have. So there you go, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Another wonderful edition of the Canadian Immigration Live Facebook event. And actually, it's not Facebook anymore, is it? It's Everywhere event. All right, guys, especially you out on YouTube who've really been picking it up. Make sure you like and subscribe, and same for you guys on Facebook. All right, guys, take care. Mark Holthe. I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer. I am a former Canadian immigration officer working on the border between Canada and the US, and a former high school teacher, which helps me to pull all of these together to give you guys this, essentially. And now I'm working on getting the video quality a little bit better. All right. I wish you guys all the best. You, your families, that you're safe, that you're healthy as we all navigate this world of COVID-19.